take a look at the bans.
Yeah. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Bibu manages to find a team because, you know, a lot of these...
If he wants to.
I can't imagine. I mean, you're going to get that moment of frustration, and then the itch comes back very, very quickly. But, you know, being a French player, he's very likely to end up on a French team at some point.
Who knows? There's a lot of things to keep in mind. We'll talk about those later on, actually more specific to organizations, as things have surfaced within the past few days. Consulate will get banned, as we saw a ton of that last week. Vitality also played on Bank versus Supremacy, so both those maps will be removed. And you know what? We're going to end up on Coastline. What a fitting way, Devin, to finish our final EU Pro League.
Maybe we'll get all Coastlines. I'm not sure if that's possible because I don't remember what all the auto bans are going to be.
We didn't have Coastline last week, so it's
I mean, we had quite a bit of border yesterday, things like that, almost kind of harking back to that first LATAM day.
I can go a little Coastline.
I mean, yeah. What's kind of funny, though, is if my memory isn't failing me, Vitality have not played this map this season. Both teams have banned this map quite a few times. Penta played it twice, but haven't fared that great on it. They lost 6-1, and they tied 5-5, so they haven't had a great record, and they ban it quite often as well. So both these teams seemingly somewhat reluctant to play this map, and I feel like it would have been more fitting for this to go down on a Bank match, which was actually what they played the very first time when these two met, was on Bank, and that went very much in Vitality's favor, a 6-1. But Penta have had some good Bank runs as well. It's just, I don't know, I feel like that would have been a fitting rematch as well, just for a map that both teams like. But the fact that both teams don't seem to like this map very much means maybe there's some stuff in hiding.
Well, the thing is, we used to talk a lot about this back when Penta were Mocket before they changed. Of course, EU can be a bit confusing this season. But Panix was one of the tough players to beat on Bank. So, you know, it was a good map to say on them, but Coastline is going to be very complicated. Historically, it's been pretty good for Vitality. So we'll see what you guys think first before we go through our match with a community vote. And things are rolling. We're crunching the numbers here.
There you go. Let's see what we get.
And Penta 72, 5% draw, 23% Vitality. You know what? Makes sense. Penta have been on a roll, really.
I mean, yeah, they've definitely been doing better lately, whereas you'd probably say the opposite for Vitality, who, I mean, unfortunately for them, and we didn't mention it during the standings, but Vitality and Supremacy not really going anywhere today. They pretty much locked into their spots at the moment, which means 7th place for Vitality. They're not out just yet. They have to fight for their spot. Supremacy, fortunately for them, this is their final time to shine.
The thing is, the only way that that Vitality can move on that, actually, it's impossible.
Yeah, just the point gap is 1 point away.
Yeah, that's it. But nothing today for Vitality and Supremacy can change their position in relegation.
Unfortunately, yeah, they can't.
So
they can't go down.
Honestly, personally speaking, this is completely my opinion. After Vitality's performance last week was against Supremacy, I have to say, I think they need that refresher. Go back into CL, see what you can do there, and then come back into Pro League when you're ready.
And unlike a lot of other teams, they actually came from Challenge League, and a lot of these teams didn't. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a similar situation to ENCE last season, where they kind of needed that refresher to go back in and get back into correct form. And
or
I think
secret?
Well, yes, actually, sometimes a timeout is needed, right?
Yeah.
But we'll go through this as now we start off our very first game of the night. Vitality versus Penta. Glaz, Lion, Band, Maestro as well. Will it be Mira? Yes, it will. This Coastline makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, every one of these operators makes sense for Coastline. These are just good bands for it. I mean, Lion is pretty much a given on any map at this point. Glaz is a pretty common one, and definitely for this map especially, a good one. Mira makes sense as well, as this is a good map for that. And Maestro, also very strong on this map. You could replace him with Echo as well, but either way, I imagine we will potentially see some Echo play here because of that, but the fact that he's not being played right now means they're going to go a different route for Bar to start out with.
Possibility for a 6th pick here as we head into the phase. And
there it is. Okay.
Enemy switching over to Echo. Valkyrie is obviously a great operator to play, but Rafale is ready. You're not going to play on Coastline when both Echo and Valkyrie are allowed without an IQ, no matter what.
I'd almost rather just go keep the Valkyrie and switch out the Mute, honestly, just because, I mean, compared to those other two operators, Mute is useful, but not nearly as useful, especially on this map, and just in my opinion.
Especially on this site, in my opinion. Revan can do quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to snipe Mute jammers here, especially if you're looking to reinforce how enemy is. Some teams will half reinforce this position. Some teams will open up half of it, like actually shoot it. Some teams will completely reinforce it. You know what?
Curious to see if they do the other wall as well.
Yeah, so that's obviously the thing. Sometimes they'll reinforce all 4 positions, sometimes they won't. But either way, it's very difficult to shut down any jammers that are set up there. And you already see potential rotation holes that will be set up here by Penta. They double reinforce alongside the wall, so it gives them quite a bit of leeway when they're playing from the back sofa here. But they should have the positions to rotate into the bar. Usually you'll leave blue bar completely opened as well from the center open area, so it's much easier to contest any plants in them, and we've seen a lot of work being done with that in North America especially. So yeah, this attack goes in as Vitality will be starting off on that side, and Spark will be the first to go up on the Habana. Interestingly enough, Zephyr on the Dokkaebi.
It'll be interesting to see how they're able to attack the top floor as well. There was a little bit of reinforcements and some other utility set up there, like castle barricades, to try and slow things down. But if they're quickly dispatched downstairs and forced down to sight, that means a lot of that utility ends up being wasted. So it's going to depend on the attackers from Vitality to be efficient on that. And Vitality are not known for being very quick on the attacks. So it could be a case where Penta are able to play the fact that they can hold the top floor for quite a while to, of course, force Vitality down to the old we're down to the last second. Now, interestingly, of course, Vitality tend to ban Echo for that reason, and the fact that they have not done so means they're going to have to be a little bit swifter than usual.
And it's possible that with Aphux being on the squad, things might change here with Vitality. But so far, they're taking their time, droning things out, nothing out of the ordinary for the French squad, and Sir Boss will shut down information. You see Aphux coming in from below, but there's not much that he can do to push Sir Boss away, as that will require him to put himself in a very difficult position. The shotgun coming in, but it's the Jaeger Sir Boss to win out with barely any health left. Big kill on the Buck.
Unfortunate, because he could have done something from below instead of trying to attack it that way. You know, using the shotgun, yeah, great idea, but...
Listen to that. Right now, the Habana just started to open up the side.
Nice DMR kill there from Spark as well. Just hanging out in the ruins. A strategy we've seen a little bit.
Yeah, it does work, and in this time the fight in tandem with the Habana was very efficient to take down Sir Boss. So it's a great start here for Vitality, but you know, at what cost? I mean, they lose the Buck just when they really need him, right?
Yeah. Well, either way, they still have the ability to potentially to open some of the floor. I gotta imagine they have some breach charges probably on the Zofia, as usually that would be the IQ carrying them as well, but no, both of them carrying claymores, which means they actually gave up a lot of floor destruction potential here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're bringing the Buck for that floor destruction, and usually players will run the Zofia with breaching charges. Unfortunately, not the case here, as you mentioned, and Aphux won't be able to do much. There you go. Those X-Kairos are being shot one by one. They're forced to use the X-Kairos on soft wall here, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe that the wall by Rafale has been reinforced.
No, I believe it was shot through the wall, so... Ooh.
Speaking of shot, it's Zephyr to take a few shots here from the blue stairs. This Panics will get one on Rafale, finding the headshot, and he finds the second. Spark is down on the floor. Hungry with one more, finding the head of Zephyr, and it's Revan to walk into the hallway between kitchen and the bars, and I'll get the last one. Penta, absolute destruction here for our very first round of the match, trying to set the pace for the rest of it. Vitality very slow, and then you saw what happened. They got picked off one by one. They try to rush in and not really take care of Panics or Hungry on the site.
And that's the problem with trying to shift the way that you play. We talk about time and time again the way that they play being very slow and methodical, and then very late pushes with little time left. But a lot of them, the mentality behind the way they play ends up being they kind of bulldoze over the roamers, and they generally have either a 5v5 at the end or a 5v3 or something like that. Usually they lose very few players getting up towards the execute, and that's one of the advantages of the way they play. Disadvantage, of course, is that it takes so much time that it comes down to a lot of gunfights at the end and angle advantages. But if you're losing as many players as you are and losing advantage players like they were, the fact that they had no other floor destruction outside of the grenades from Zofia's lifeline, it's definitely not a good situation to be in, and I think that was, you know, somewhat of a lineup and loadout misplay, as well as the Buck playing the way he did. Kind of cost them a lot of things that could have given them enough advantage to at least push on site with maybe some more of the defenders down, but either way, we'll see if they make some adjustments. This time they're not going to be attacking a bomb site top down, because it's going to be hookah.
Yeah, we'll see how this site is played without Mira to contrast what happened on Monday when Mira was available for North America. So we got to see, you know, different ways of doing it. And yes, I know Mira is not that different. It's just we haven't really seen her too much. So especially on Coastline. So when we do get to see her, it's always interesting to talk about some of the strategies. In this case, she won't be available, and we'll get to see how things are played in the opposite side. Sirboz setting up his jammers here on the mute. He has a ton of ADSs to protect him as well by the pool bar, so there's quite a bit for him to just sit back, not worry about much, as Vitality will run pretty much the same lineup as our previous round. Penta didn't really need to rely on the Echo the last round. It's just, hey, now I have some way to flank watch without exposing myself, and at the same time, some way to support panics on site and being able to take down any diffuser plans.
And you know, I was thinking about it. I criticized the mute pick last time, but thinking about it now, against a team that's so dependent on drones and the way they're using it to deny drones, now maybe not such a bad pick after all, just in terms of slowing down that level of play and countering the way that Vitality plays specifically. Not that those jammers are going to last forever, but anything you can do to slow down that push just forces them into more and more desperate attacks earlier on rather than just during the execute.
Now look at the interesting thing. There are players from Penta downstairs. Enemies hold up here, just by the Cool Vibe stairs. There's panics near him as well to protect him, and Ravon as well. 3 players up and around the bottom floor, and then a couple players just sitting down on the site. Because when the execute is very easily telegraphed. If you're on the attacking side, and Penta have proven that they are able to rotate very quickly on the site if need be. Though Vitality, what they need to do now, seeing that there's 2 players there, is either get on the site or shut down rotations.
Yeah, the problem I have is with the Legion sitting down there, because the executes are fairly standard on the site. They almost always push through Aqua into Billiards. Legion is a big help in stopping that, because usually they're going to use smoke or something else to help them make that push. If there's goo mines there, guess what? You can't plant the diffuser with a goo mine in your foot. So the more of those you can set up in and around the areas where they plant, which is almost always right next to that bomb, the better off you are in terms of stopping the plant, especially giving Hungry more of a chance to huck the smoke grenades as well as the Yokai to do his job.
Now we'll see the IQ here, just going around scanning things. Of course, there's an indestructible wall nearby, so you can't do much against those. You just have to learn how to play against the ADSs, maybe burn them out. You have the Zofia, for example. Aprox here that can use his utility, but you know what? Penta still have bottom map control, and they can rotate from the opposite end, and that's exactly what Panics might try to do if he comes in and tries to push in from the luggage area as Rafal to potentially run into the site. Gas canister is going to get chucked out here as no damage will be done to Rafal. First one is missed. Rafal will have to exit away from it, lurking through the smoke, and it just go down to the floor. Enemy has full information on him. Smartly enough, Hungry will toss out a gas canister instead of peeking against them. And there you go. He'll find one. Panics, though, will get the second. I think Panics is coming from the back, but Hungry connects onto Spark. That's 2 players down on Revan. Rotates in on the Legion, finds the last one on Bride, and takes him out. And of course, on the Legion with the Penta skin, find it, take him out. And of course, he had Panics in front of him. They waited for the long-term play, just coming in for late rotate, and got the last 2 players.
I mean, I wouldn't say that normally would work, but Hungry, being a very good smoke, did a very good job making sure that he gave his teammates more than enough time to get into their position. Like
and they'll flank launch.
A little bit, and that's the thing, is they were so focused on getting that plant down, which is, I mean, not a bad thing. That's generally what you should be doing a lot of the time, is being very focused on it. They did have VIP set up to try and flank from and things like that, but it was, I mean, I guess the advantage then of that very late flank, of course, is chances are there's less and less flank watch the longer an execute goes on, and the more chances you're going to be able to pull it off, especially as Hungry starts killing players, even more chance that those remaining players that were on flank watch have to start helping with the execute. They get focused, Panics comes up, and goodbye.
Well, that's the thing. There is still the IQ available. The thing is, it was a close range plant from Vitality when they didn't have a DMR to play with. This sort of plant is much easier to play with if you have a glass available. Not the case here. Of course, that was banned out by Penta.
Yeah.
So because of that, you kind of have to go for a shallow plant. And unfortunately, because one player just dropped on the floor with the 2 cast canisters, it kind of forced Vitality to try and go revive in an odd position, and they were so focused, as you mentioned, on getting into the site that there was nobody else watching other relevant positions.
What I do wonder is, was there a yokai able to call out the smoke position, or was that killed out by the IQ?
No,
There
it
one.
was still there. It rotated back, and it was used because nobody was contesting the Echo in the back.
Well, then that makes all the difference in the world, because you can plant wherever you want in smoke, but chances are that Echo drone's probably going to see it happening.
The thing is, the smoke canisters had already done the damage before the yokai had already come in. I have to say, commendations to Hungary, who did quite a bit of work.
Absolutely. That was, I mean, that's why that worked.
Exactly. So there we go. Good timing, a lot of experience, and that's what happens. And Vitality, unfortunately, here with a how do you say, single stage attack.
Yeah.
Does not connect, to say the least. They came into VIP, they cleared things out, but they weren't able to move beyond it. But we'll see how Penta try to play this side here. As this time they'll be bringing Miss Ella.
I mean, this is still a top-down attack primarily a lot of the time. And again, they're running without a lot of ability to do anything about the floors outside of the buck unless they've changed those loadouts and have less claymores and more. So the breach charges, a lot is on Brede's shoulders to be able to set that up for them, get in and successfully do that. So if they can contest for quite a while on Penthouse, that makes it a much, much harder job. So, I mean, it's just down on them to hold it as long as possible. At least Brede, though, getting one kill on the Panics, who was a bit of pain last time, means, of course, the Echo is gone and a lot more on Hungary's shoulders this round than last round.
Okay, there you go. That's a great start that Vitality are really looking for. It's a big pick for them. No, they have taken control of the top floor as well, so Vitality, in the meantime, opening up the floorboards, and, well, the C4 will not connect, but Brede will. He'll find the second kill as it's Revan to go down. The Aloe will run out and instantly get tapped by Zephyr, who's still playing the same drone hole as we've known him to use versus the bathroom. The shotgun in hand as Hungary will connect. He'll take down Brede and finally end his reign of terror from above. But it's 2 players left versus the 4 of Vitality and Penta on the back foot.
Yeah, definitely so far. Brede being dead, but he did so much work for this round already. He pretty much paved the way for the win. Hungary is a little bit low on health as well, and that's a big deal. So Sir Boss is going to have to make some serious plays upstairs here, and Spark is ready for them. So it comes down to who wins this gunfight. Looking like Spark, and there we go.
Yeah, there we go. He downs the Jaeger and then takes him out. Hungary's still on site. He tries to find the angle here to play the long-range headshots. Unfortunately, he's being called, and that gives information for the players of Vitality playing from the top floor. He'll check out one gas canister and try to survive for just a bit, but he's being pinched from every single location. Diffuser is being set in the meantime, and Spark from above finds the kill. Hungary will go down. Vitality, great execution. That's what you need. Get a pick, play from the top floor, use the buck, make sure he doesn't die, and, well, get lucky, because Penta missed their C4, the oh-so-important C4, before the buck could do the work.
And that's what it really came down to, was Brede being able to live and get his initial kills in there. Made a huge difference, because once they started opening up the top, it was down to a lot of pressure on the flanks to try and kill the people up top, and since they were not able to win that fight, Spark definitely doing a good job cleaning up the rest of it. Of course, nice play by Zephyr as well, reading into the push from the door in the main lobby. But that was their 3rd bomb site, so not their best bomb site, although it is kind of funny that that was their 3rd one. Usually that's usually the least useful bomb site, but for them, it seemed to match up perfectly here in terms of that. But of course,
nobody's playing Penthouse.
I mean, that's pretty much the norm for a lot of regions now and a lot of teams. It's just without the extra mirror, it's very hard to play when you pretty much have to spend almost all your time in theater.
Yeah, don't say that to Team Liquid.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
well, I
the
mean,
bombs.
they had an interesting way of doing it in opening up the space between the two and holding that.
Yeah, I'm playing ACOGs.
Yeah, it was...
With Zig able to somehow find kills every single time.
Well, that's what I like about him, and also the way Slash plays it, is they find ways to play somewhat in Penthouse.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference, and that's part of the reason why they're able to win those. I mean, it's very different ways of doing it, though, but it's the case where you extend yourself out past that room where you just have a single doorway funneling you, and it works a lot better. And maybe we'll see more teams figure that out, figure out different ways to do that, and see that site kind of come back in a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll get to see how things shape up on, well, the second time seeing this site as we go back down to the 2 bars, Blue and Sunrise. And Panics in the meantime setting up, allowing Sir Boss to play. Now, last time Sir Boss was able to get a kill on Brede, and then fell to the Habana that was playing from the top floor because, okay, they realized, hey, they're not reinforcing the entire wall. Maybe we should just shoot through it. And that's exactly what happened. The Habana was able to land the kill, but also used the X-Kairos to open up a side of the wall. So I assume that's what's supposed to happen here, as you'll see the drone hole being used. Try to get information on anybody in the back of the bar, nobody's in the aquarium, and they'll just keep on droning. Nobody in the south hallway, nobody playing by the stairs. So far, so clear, and Vitality already setting up their drones for any late rotations.
Yeah, and much like the previous rounds, this is very likely to come down who those initial kills are on in terms of whether or not a team gains a big advantage, because of the way they're running the lineups and the kills that we're seeing going out on the Bucks or on the Echo has had a huge impact. So these very first kills have really changed a lot of the round as opposed to some other lineups and potential kills coming out from those. So that definitely is a big deal here. I imagine, though, this might be a more careful round from both teams in the case where we don't see those come out. But Sir Boss did take a lot of initial damage, but he is probably the least impactful kill.
Oh, he fell back, but here the fight, Hooks will miss every single shot as Hungry is somehow still alive, but he's not alive for long. He gets taken out from above, and Zephyr will find the kill on Sir Boss. The Jaeger down and the Hungry incapacitated. The smoke on the floor, trying to use him as bait, but a spray day to finish him off. Calls have come in against the attacking side of Penta as they try to get information here on them. Team Vitality. Enemy will set his drone up for a last-minute defense in and around the bar as he's currently needed closer to his teammates here. This is a great start for Vitality, and I have to say, somewhat facilitated by Penta.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Vitality have definitely warmed up, and they're much more playing like we would have expected. They just couldn't really hang it the first two rounds, but they seem to be much more of that method I was talking about where they just tend to not lose people pushing in as they get closer and closer to site. 45 seconds left, though, approximately means they're going to probably get set up for this execute within the next 20 to 30 seconds, and if Penta counters that, they're more likely to actually die in the process.
I have the information here, and the castle unfortunately will go down. Zephyr is ready, and the CZ-75 will outdamage that UMP. Wasn't even able to, bring it up to try and fight against the enemy Korean operator here. As you'll see, Rafale just from the outside try to pick off any utility that's been set. And I believe he found a yokai. I don't know if he took it down, but even with that, there's so little time left on the clock that Penta will need to get on the site. Can they go for the kill here? Yes, they can. And Zephyr will find the last one on the Dokkaebi as they just had every single window on lockdown, and even the center here. Zephyr coming in and a long-range shot with the DMR takes down the Echo and ties it up between them and Penta.
Well, like I said, Vitality seeming to kind of warm up a bit after those first two rounds, and we talk about that all the time, is the first two rounds are very often warm-up rounds for a lot of teams, or are at least rounds where you feel out the way that the enemy team's going to be playing things and kind of make adjustments as necessary. So far we've seen that happen. But now we got to see if Penta can do the same, if they can make the adjustments needed as they're going back to their bomb sites the second time. So far, Bar wasn't able to make any adjustments to the attack. Hookah, however, in theory, should be able to. But I got to imagine they're going to go a little bit more careful in terms of trying to get that plant down this time. Maybe not fall victim to Hungry as much, because he's probably going to be playing a similar area. And if they're going to open up the Hookah door to try and put pressure on him, maybe do it a little bit sooner. Would be a key way to make sure you can't just play that. I mean, he's very good at playing multiple angles like a lot of good smoke players are when they're kind of pinched, but the way he was playing definitely depended on focus.
Now, one thing we'd like to remind people is that with the operators that have been set, the bans, etc., even with that, Coastline is still mostly an attacker favorites map, which, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, is fine. But even when you get, 2 rounds in the attack, that's really not enough. Minimum is 3.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is 4. Well, obviously 5, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So you would like to have some more here, and we'll see if Vitality are able to get that extra one, or else they might be struggling on their next defense. However, at least then they won't have to worry about an Echo, because here he only barely scratched Team Vitality here.
Yeah.
So usually what is a big problem for Vitality was not really the case, which is odd, really.
It's just down probably to the way the enemy's playing it. And he might even be playing it as more of an intel op rather than necessarily using it for a lot of late game, because they don't have a Valkyrie to have some of that extra utility. I mean, they have the Legion, and that will give you some intel in terms of approaches. but at the same time, like the lack of black eyes, I think is hurting them here to an extent. To be fair, there is the Dokkaebi that can hack the cameras, which can work against you, as well as the IQ that can find those cameras. So more than likely you don't want to have them outside unless you know for sure that IQ is going to approach from one specific side. You can put them on other sides to catch some of the other attackers. But I feel like they've got some good denial of the attackers' intel with the mute, but they're just not setting up a lot of intel of their own, and I think that's biting them in terms of the roam play. They're losing a lot of those roamers due to the fact that Vitality is just still droning around those mute jammers now that it's not new to their attacks.
All right, we'll see how Vitality set up for this one as they're pushing in from Hall of Fame and VIP. That's a very important position here if you want to shut down any eventual rotations to the site, as even flanks here have been fairly complicated to deal with. Hungry is still on the site, and Enemy is by the Cool Vibe stairs. He still has a Echo Yokai drone there, so it does give him a lot of information on the setup from Team Vitality, and they see the Claymore that has been set up by Approx. Enemy, though, in the meantime, having that information, will fall back with the Yokai and try to play it closer to the site, as he still will hold from the backside. And there you go. The X-Kairos will get taken down. Panics playing in from below and taking them out one by one. Minute 12 on the clock.
Well, they're still playing it similar to how they did last time with 3 people downstairs, putting a lot of effort onto Hungry and Sir Boss to hold this out. Sir Boss's position is going to be known, so is Hungry's. So I'd say they're at a bit of disadvantage here in that they're in positions that can be compromised. I mean, they're good positions, but they're well-known positions, and a lot of teams play against them, especially the way Sir Boss is playing. That's a well-known spot to play against. Not an easy one, mind you, but a well-known one. If they can even clear the ADSs, they could potentially nade him from Buck. Spark taking a bit of damage, but doing work, and that's Hungry dead. This is everyone needing to come back upstairs now.
Oh, that is a great shot there. A lot of damage, again, as you mentioned, taken by Sparks, who's now down to 50% health. But this should ease things in for Team Vitality. They find the angle in the back, and Bride connects with the grenade. Panics, though, with one onto Sparks. Try to drop it. Panics will get another one, but Aphox is ready to refrag. Enemy is still in the back, but Revan from below, he'll deny the diffuser plant. With only 15 seconds left on the clock, it's a 2v2. And his Vitality will have to push in. They try to take Enemy out, and there you go. They'll be successful. Zephyr able to shut him down, and Zephyr finds the second, clutching the round with a CZ75. And again, the Dokkaebi will win it out. Vitality taking the very first half 3-2. My, this is a completely different Vitality than what we saw last week.
Yeah, it's definitely the case that also Penta are starting to get very predictable in the way they were holding those defenses. They were definitely doing things that were, yeah, I mean, they were a good strategy the first time around, but the second time around, they were compromised. Hungry especially, and I was pointing that earlier, was he's in a known position that has flanks to it. It has the door, it has the window, and that's exactly what they exploited. They're like, hey, we know where he's at. He is the most important kill to get first. Get him first. Now they're in a position where they're mostly having to come back upstairs. I mentioned the grenades killing Sir Boss. That's exactly what happened as well, because that is the counter to that position, and ADSs are only going to do so much for you. Yep. So really the key there was Vitality were adapting to what Penta were doing, and Penta were not adapting to what Vitality might do in counter.
And that's the thing. Vitality adapting is, for the past 6 months, not really something you would have heard us say.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is, if you're going to be going back down to Challenger League, potentially, you want to show that you still got it, but they're not out yet.
Yes.
And this is
they can't fight for their spot.
Yeah, I don't want to say this is too late at this point, because adapting now is the perfect way to prepare for those relegations to make sure that you stay in here. And I don't know, maybe a Prox is helping with that.
Yeah, and of course we'll have our relegations done within the next couple of weeks. The games will be streamed, at least the top 2 matches, so the playoffs grand final. For Challenger League and the final relegation match between CL and PL will both be happening on the stream here. But one thing we'd like to say in the meantime, as we get our lobby back in shape, and I'd like everybody to take a second not only to post this on social media, but also in chat here. Once we're done with our final game of the night between Secret and Chaos, that is not the end of the night. We still have our final drawing for the Rio finals. So by the end of the night, we will know how the bracket will look like for Rio. We'll know all the teams that are going. We still have one more team that we don't know, which we'll decide today in EU, possibly at the end of the next game. Who knows? It's all up to that. But we already know Immortals and FaZe Clan are going from Latin America. We already know Norengo and Fnatic are coming from APAC, and we already know that from NA we'll have Rogue and Evil Genius. Of course, Evil Geniuses being in the top seed, coming in from the region.
So that's
as well.
pretty consistent with last season's finals, even
Yes.
from APAC. So it's interesting to see. I mean, this is where things will get interesting, I suppose, in EU, is that it's very unlikely.
The big
have-
difference is that, we had Team Liquid instead of Immortals at Atlantic City, but even then, Team Liquid and Immortals were fighting for that spot
That's what I
last
mean,
night.
yeah.
So yes, it's fairly, something to keep in mind. Millennium can still qualify in the game after this. So.
And then EG Rogue, well, that's pretty much been
it's a
consistent for quite a while.
Big fight between
That was a close one.
between Rogue and SK. So I highly recommend to go back on Monday and rewatch their game on Coastline, because I definitely did,
Yeah.
and we did a whole analysis of that. And there were some pros as well that are giving their opinions on it and what was going on during the game. It was pretty exciting to see how things actually are shaping up during the game. Seems like sometimes we give too much credit for certain things that are just done on the whim, but you know what? That's great. That gives positive play to the players that are able to adapt on the instant itself. And you know what? Sometimes going with your gut is exactly what you need. It's not always pre-planning, and you can't always pre-plan for everything. But I'll remind you again, at the end of this day, teams can start pre-planning, as we'll know what the bracket will look like for the Rio Finals. So do not go anywhere by the end of the day, because after Secret versus Chaos, no matter what happens, we'll know the winning team from EU, we'll know all the teams that qualify, and we will draw the teams out one by one, only 5-10 minutes after the end of that matchup.
That should be very interesting to see who ends up against who, because that's where you start to make predictions about matches you want to see, who you think might make it to the finals. It's where it gets interesting.
One thing though, because of the seeding, and this is all on me, we can't have EGG2 in the quarterfinal.
Let's hope that isn't the case, but there's also other matchups that will be exciting or not exciting depending on if they happen. I mean, we won't see another Fnatic Liquid rematch, as Liquid won't be there. So that's
Well, from what I hear, they will be there. They're just not playing.
that's true. That's true. We will see, of course, as I mentioned last night, probably all of the Latin American teams there, just not all of them
Yes.
playing.
From what I have heard is that, and this is especially directed at fans in Brazil. If you're watching the English stream, hello. Number 2, if you haven't secured your ticket yet for Rio, make sure that you do so, because pretty much every single professional player or Siege personality will be coming to the event, especially if they're Brazilian.
Yeah.
So you want to meet them, you want to say hello, pictures, everything. That's the place to be. There's a lot of space. You just need to fill it. So tickets are actually pretty cheap, even for the region.
If you're from elsewhere as well, be aware that there's many times, depending on where you're coming from, visa requirements, but some of those may not take too long, but don't slack on that, because you don't want to buy tickets and then realize you can't go because of visa issues.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure, to pre-plan that, check out what your requirements are, because I know a lot of times it's like, it ends up being a lot of Brazilian teams.
Trust me, I know about
This guy knows about visa issues, so for me to warn him, but I need a visa as well. So it's a situation where a lot of regions do need that. So just make sure to prepare for that, because we would love to see people from all regions come represented, not just be Latin American teams. Although there will be a lot of Latin American fans there,
Yes,
for sure. And of course, there'll be Portuguese spoken. We'll be speaking English. There'll be a lot going on.
It's a stadium. It's an Olympic stadium, for God's sake.
Yeah.
If you're not there, you're gonna miss out. Anyways, we'll go back to our matchup here, as we're almost ready to head back into Coastline. We'll remind you, current scoreline is in the advantage of Team Vitality, which is after their performance versus Supremacy last week and not having Bibu and now Prox playing on the team. It's kind of a bit eye-opening.
Yeah.
Great. It's a change. It's exactly what we needed from them. But we'll get to see how they play on this, because they've been able to shut down Penta fairly well.
Well, what's been interesting about that is Bibu was usually the fragger, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been replaced by a Prox who's not fragging for the most part. I think he got maybe 1 or 2 kills, and they're doing okay with that. And that's nice to see that other people on the team are able to step up in that role. Maybe not even that role so much as just getting kills and the opportunities they have. I mean, Brede doing a pretty good job, at least with the Buck, managing to get in and get some early kills, or at least some early setup as well. So credit to him. Of course, we have side switch now, so Penthouse actually is going to get brought out here. We'll see if Rafel's going to try and channel Zig here with that Doc play. We will get
That
a
is
first brand as
actually
well.
a big possibility. I mean,
Hey,
you know,
if you
we
see
saw
it, you
that.
like
He
it.
should switch to. Ooh.
Oh, he's going to channel Sexy Cake instead. Another player on Liquid who was
Yeah.
part of that play.
Yeah. Let's not. You know, I don't want to talk too much about Liquid because I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it's a sore subject.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There were some very iffy plays here and there.
Well, either way, though,
Attackers
we'll be
will locate
excited
and
to see
defuse
them
as many
all
bombs
there,
as
and
they
we'll be excited to see how this defense goes down in contrast to what we were talking about earlier. Why teams don't want to do it, what some teams have managed to do to kind of make up for the lack of the black mirrors. And
Yeah, we'll see if Vitality evaporate in this matchup, or Penta will solidify their position within Pro League.
yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, they have advantage so far. Unfortunately, the score looks flipped at the moment,
Yes.
so it may look like Penta
Very
is
much
ahead by a
the
point,
case.
but unfortunately, it's actually the other way around.
I wasn't wrong when I said Vitality are ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to need to rehost for that or not,
10
but
seconds
either
left
way,
before
hopefully you at home at least know what the score is, so to speak.
5 seconds to go.
We'll see what Rafael's
there
going to
you
do.
go.
Looks like we are going to go for the rehost.
Yes, I guess so.
Attack.
So yeah, just a bit of a technical issue here. We'll be back for it in just a second. So yeah, don't worry about it. Anyways,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it. So we got to see a clash. Now we'll remind you that rule set specifies that if there's a rehost and you have to go back into the game, you have to play the very same operators that you had before.
Mhm.
So even if they were detected, the clash is going to be played.
Still might go for it as a 6-pick just in case it wasn't. You could still do it as a
Mm-hmm.
6-pick. You still repeat the 6-pick and try and hide that. But I guess, I mean, if he got pinged, he'll know. But if he didn't get pinged, then, you know, it might have been something they spotted, and he won't know if he was spotted or not.
Well, clash. You talked about Sexy Cake, and you talked about the way the Liquid played it as well. How did that go through? With the
That was absolutely down to him denying windows, whether it be the big window inside Penthouse, which was partially also being denied by Zig playing on that deployable shield as Doc, just kind of taking advantage of his ACOG, playing some angles. But it was a big part, Sexy Cake just playing in VIP, denying the big window under that balcony, just doing it so effectively, giving the opportunity for the rest of his players to get good positions, but also keeping most of the opposing team outside for so long that they weren't able to get in, and they just weren't countering Sexy Cake properly because that, you know, they would try and use a Zofia, but it was ill-timed. You need a second person to do that because trying to switch back to your weapon is very difficult in that situation, and the changes to Clash have not gone through yet, so so Clash is still fairly strong on the weapon switch, even as necessary, and Sexy Cake was definitely doing a very good job on that as well when he needed, but it's just the sheer denial of people trying to get in, because what can you do other than come in through the hallway if they've got good coverage of that as well? He's pretty much locking down VIP single-handedly, even able to turn over to Hall of Fame door as necessary, and you've got Zig covering the other side of that as well from behind the deployable shield in an angle that you can't get if you're only playing in theater. So the combination of those two meant Hall of Fame lockdown, the big window into Penthouse lockdown, VIP and the balcony lockdown, and just between those two, solid plays. Now we're seeing those two played. Could see something similar.
Yeah, it definitely can be the case.
Oh, that's right. Would not be.
We
not
don't
those
have
two
a
played
dock.
because he switched
We have
out
a
from.
clash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He selected the dock first.
Would have been those two played had it not been the same player.
But still, you mentioned VIP. You can definitely have the Clash playing there against the window. You have a Jaeger playing behind it. Very good position to be in. We've seen the damage that you know, Panics could do on the Jaeger, but I'm kind of curious to see what Vitality have in store for us, because their defensive plays have been fairly shaky last week.
Yeah.
So I want to see how they switch things around, because they're not bringing the Echo, if I'm not mistaken, I guess. I didn't see an Echo being played, so...
Well, then they're giving up all the ACOGs because Maestro's banned.
Yep.
They're not going to play the Doc. They definitely weren't playing Rook. And like you said, they're probably not playing Echo, which means they have no ACOGs to play something similar to what Zig was doing and cover some of those long angles. So it's very likely to go a little bit differently in terms of the way that they're going to play it.
Things are in order, so guess we are ready to head back into game. And there you go. We should be seeing a 6th pick as well to try and hide the Clash. I assume she was not detected, or at least Vitality believed that she was not.
Might as well do the 6th pick anyways, just in case. No reason not to.
You have to pick the same operators anyways.
Yeah. So he's going to, you know, this guy's, hey, we're picking the same operators. Hee hee.
Hee hee, XD.
Yeah, and then there's the 6th pick from Panic's first, the one from Rafael, and yeah, they're definitely not bringing an Echo.
And this is the perfect thing. You have Zofia, you have a Capitao, deals with Clash pretty easily.
And that's the thing is, Sophia alone not so great because you need a second person. Capitao, you still need good timing or catching them in a position where they can't escape the fire as easily, or even just catching them from an angle where they don't see it coming. And definitely a possibility to do that as well, but of course it helps to do that with two people.
My question is the Twitch, and a lot of people, including myself, are like, why would you bring the Twitch when there's no Mira? Well, in this case, they are expecting either a Mute or a Bandit. In this case, both of them.
Yeah, definitely could be helpful in that, especially if their plan is to take VIP and then open the wall to go through there, which is definitely a possibility because you've got a lot of smokes in play here, and that will help with planting inside Penthouse either way, but even more so doing it from the angle because it's much harder to contest that spot than if you were to just plant, say, in the middle of the room or the corner by the big window, unless you've, of course, got good big window coverage, which, you know, they may have as well, but you could also have Capitao to be the one to smoke and fire that so that they cannot push in there.
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing, is that Revon is very well known for his plays on Twitch and Ash. So no matter what, the F2 or the R4C can be big boons to his aggressive play.
Absolutely, so it's a case where if his shock drones don't do a lot for him, his gun most likely will. See a lot of windows getting open behind Hunger, but Panics, the first to get the kill on Zephyr. That is the castle. Not a very important kill, but certainly one that will help a little bit. Some impact nades, most likely still in hand, maybe just one or two. But either way, that's helpful.
Yeah, and even then, Zephyr has been a player that has done quite a bit of work against Penta in this matchup so far, at least on the attacking side. So we'll get to see how things changed in here potentially now. Oh, there you go. They're going to burn the X-Kairos off, as remember, there's only one Heart Breacher. Oh, this is a problem here. There's only one set of Kairos left.
That is definitely not a situation you want to be in. So, no pressure going to come from Theater. Definitely can't use a push through VIP through the wall into the bedroom area. So, that pretty much forces them to either try and kill everyone in this room and rush on in, or to try and have to pressure from Hall of Fame. And that's very one-dimensional attacks. Had they been able to get the... had they been able to get that open, that would have been... You know, a huge benefit, but now they're...
No.
This is not a good position to be in.
Why did he shoot the X-Kairos when they didn't destroy the batteries?
At that point, he wasn't going to be able to do a ton other than pressure, but yeah, that one X-Kairos made a huge difference still.
To quote Michael Kickstar Stockley, what are you doing? My God, what was that?
Yeah, this is not going well for Penta so far. Panic's also having taken a bit of damage, and he is not Buck, so he's not going to be playing as effectively from below. There's a bit opened up, might have been from the Jackals, ITA, but still, this is looking like time pretty much just being wasted at this point in terms of trying to get some kind of angle and not succeeding. There is still smokes available to help with the plan here, both from Jackal and from Capitao, but that's a big ask to make those count.
All right, Panic's still holding off the angle, as in the meantime, Penta will reschedule the whole push and try to go from the opposite end through VIP. This might end up causing more problems for them, and there's little time left here with only 40 seconds on the clock. And remember, the bedroom wall has been reinforced as well. Uphox finds the angle onto Hungry. Damage done as well to the Jaeger of Uphox, but he is still alive. 4v4, and remember, there's a clash in play. Revan will find the angle on Spark and take him down from the hallway. Rotation hole here for Rafal. Won't be able to use that, as he'll actually go down. Uphox with one more. He's low on health, but Sir Boss is ready for the fight. Bride in a 1v3. 10 seconds on the clock. Oh no, they run right next to him. Bride, do they know he's here? He gets 1-2, but it's animated to turn around and save the round from a potential huge blunder there from Penta Sports. It's a good thing he's away. And there you go, the Bandit hiding in the corner. What are you doing, Bandito? They'll still be able to save the round.
Amazingly enough, that was definitely just down to winning a lot of gunfights. So that is troublesome for Vitality, and that they're going to have to deal with we had what should have been a strong advantage and just lost it to gunfight after gunfight. I mean, there was some good attempts back from Vitality as well to try and do something about it, but definitely not the best way to win that, unfortunately. So,
okay. We are awaiting information, I guess.
Yeah, there may have been some confusion about the operators. Not sure what's going on with that.
So here we go. Penta did not. So we mentioned the rule that you have to pick the same operators. Guess what? Penta did not, which means they lose the round.
unfortunate. I mean, we saw the 6th pick, and maybe it was the 6th pick was wrong because I don't remember what the 6th pick was from them previously. So I believe they just lose the round is what we saw there. So
Yep.
that's,
We're not sure exactly which operator it is. We'll wait until we have any info on that. But yes, there was an operator confusion, and because of that, not respecting the rules, the round was played, and Vitality didn't, see it until way later. There we go. They took Capitao, which was not.
You
on
might
the
have seen the
board.
clash and that. I mean, I hope it was an accident and not intentional. Everyone
In
knows
any
the rules
case-
at this point. Very likely an accident.
Yes. In any case, it does end up in a round loss for Penta, which means that right now we are tied up.
Yeah. So, I mean, a round that Vitality should have been able to win and didn't. Ends up going their way anyways, but some of that, the Capitao was, helpful to an extent. So, I guess that's only fair.
Rules are rules, man.
Either way, though, Vitality's still definitely in this. If not that they were out in any respect yet, but it's looking good for them to be able to potentially take this. I mean, this is not really going to change anything
No,
for them.
it will not change.
But
just to remind you, Vitality are in that 7th place no matter what.
This
happens next.
is, as I said, though, a good warm-up for them with a new player to get ready for that relegations match.
Yeah.
So this is still very helpful for them because a scrim is one thing, but an actual serious game is very different in a lot of ways. And, a lot of times we see things that work in scrims not working in real games and whatnot. So this is still going to be very useful for them going forward. Whether they win or lose it is still a useful experience because you have to really break in a new player, and scrims are only going to do so much of that for you because the pressure's not really there the same as well.
It makes things easier, the fact that Hooks has a decent chunk of Pro League experience.
Yeah.
So he knows how to handle the pressure to some extent. It's a different playing environment.
Yeah.
And we're not sure for how long Bibu was planning to make the change. Of course, he said he's out, but it's Siege. You're never really out. You can ask Zoronic about that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Even players that go to other games, they always come back.
Ovi, where did he go? He came back.
Yeah.
Coaching with Trust Gaming, who actually qualified for the Benelux finals just last night. There's a lot of tournaments that are going on. Yesterday, we had Latin America, and as I was doing my own VOD reviews, I had ESL Premiership, of course, UK tournament, which is secret play-in. We didn't have the qualifiers for 6 Cup because those are already done for this weekend. There's quite a few. There's Russian League. There's so many tournaments from every
It's
single
only going to
nation.
get bigger.
It's only going to get bigger, and bigger and badder. We'll see how things go in our matchup, as I believe that we are ready to head back. And with how things have gone, this means that Vitality now have a 2-round advantage. I said before, they tie it up. That was incorrect. I had assumed an assumption from 2 rounds before and a rehost. It confuses everybody.
Yeah.
Hungry in the meantime is... Hello?
I think he's having a little trouble getting his operator pick in, unfortunately.
Did he have somebody like nom-nomming on his Cat 6 cables?
I mean, sometimes you can have issues when you're, going back into a game, and it's possible that he might even need to go for a full reboot. So
Yeah, I mean, I know it's heresy, but it's possible that Skaven came out of the floor and started nomming on his cables. But don't say that to any, Imperial captain. I think we'll have it at the end of the day. Inquisition incoming. Those references aside, I guess I will leave them to chaos in the final matchup of the day. I do like my bit of Warhammer. We are waiting to rehost. You'll have to live with us. And again, thank you very much for going through all of this with us. We can't thank you enough. Of course, we're watching here. We want the game to go.
Yeah.
Because not only do we have this, we have 3 more after it. So,
And seating.
And then a seating show.
So we'll be here for a while.
We'll be here for a while. Reminder, again, as Devin clearly mentioned, use Slydog. After the final match of the day, Team Secret versus Chaos, it will not be done. It is not the end of times.
No.
We still have our seating show. So 5-10 minutes after.
Yeah, it won't be very long. So I mean, you may
yeah.
see a break screen, and it may or may not have time, but just know it won't take very long before we come right back.
Just know it's something between 5 and 10 minutes. We'll be back after it, and then we'll be dressed in the same clothes. Nobody can check, right?
No promises.
No promises. And we'll go for the final seating show to see who gets to play who or whom in Rio. So that aside, we are getting ready to rehost. So let's take a bit of a break before we continue on with Vitality versus Penta. Thank you very much for going through this day with us.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you very much for living through all of this with us here as we get ready to potentially start somewhere during this round. Reminder, the scoreline so far 4-2 between Vitality and their opponents of Penta. And Vitality have been on the back foot for this entire season, have somehow gotten close to beating Penta. We'll hop into the game. Coastline.
Yep. Let's hope they chose the right operators, the same operators. I think probably double checking them this time before the match starts here.
Yeah, did they spawn? They're in?
Yep. Are
Hungry's
they all
in?
loading?
Okay,
There we go.
ready.
Hungry's loaded. So that's all that matters. The magic finger.
There you go.
Hungry on his operator not banned against him for once.
Yes, and that's the... Actually, here's
Watch
the
him 6 pick off of it too, just to mess with us.
thing. Here's the thing. Both Sir Boss and Hungry are really good Yings.
Yeah.
So
So it's pretty much an easy ban if
Well-
you're up against this team.
at 6 Cup, we saw Sir Boss playing a pretty mean Ying. You've seen the power of the 612, which might be a possibility on this site, especially here in Kitchen. And you know what? I'd be afraid if I'm Vitality, because there's multiple ways of obviously playing the game. Either you can chuck in the Candelas and keep rolling because of the way that Hungry is able to time those Candelas, something he's very well known for, or you can use it like a fuse charge from the top floor. A lot of things that you can do with these sort of breakable surfaces.
I tell you what though, once enemy burns those ADSs with his flashbangs, as I assume he would do, sky's the limit for what Hungry can do with those.
Sky's definitely the limit.
Yeah.
Wait, no, we're not talking. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not talking about that.
Not wading into that one.
Okay, well, that aside,
Attackers recover the
NA is always interesting. So,
is.
Rafale here on the Echo will be playing inside of the Kitchen. So, Ravon in the meantime just joining things in. Hungry, of course, bringing the Ying with the T95. He's actually one of the best pistol players in the region. So, you better watch out just in case, and they might be rolling in for a very fast execute. There you go. Candelas are already in, and you see how Hungry's trying to stagger them into each part of the site, and there you go. The smoke is already down. Bride has been taken out, and they're going to go in for the plant instantly here. Rafale trying to fight, but it's already a plant. Panics, turns around and gets the kill onto Spark. But there's one down on the floor. Zephyr with one on enemy here. Did he spot one outside? No, he can't find him, and the Pucks will try to rush out for it. He can't find much. They're around the angle. Hungry will get one. Sir Boss with one more, and the last alive suddenly is Zephyr. Penta with a great execution, as Revan will find the head of Zephyr and take him out. Oddly enough, back in the day, Revan used to play on Vitality.
So, if you ever wonder why we mention Hungry and Ying and why it's good to ban it, you now have a very clear visual demonstration. A very short one as well.
Oh, yes, indeed. And you know what? You say short. Hungry is definitely no short person. So, yes, there's a lot to fear when it comes to the Ying execution. And you know what? He might be going for it again here, as we'll see the buck being picked.
Yeah, could
but
be a 6th pick to it.
I
Nope.
don't
Maybe not then. Unless someone else wants to use the 6th pick.
maybe Sir Boss will switch to the Ying. Well, no, they can't because they already have.
Can't double stick.
Like, wait, what?
That would be
The
interesting.
7th pick.
The 12th pick. No, he's
Oh.
going to get off of it. I mean, you don't really need to do that 2 times in a row, but what a way to take Kitchen.
No, Hoka Billiards, it's still very strong. I mean, there's a reason why Ying gets banned quite a bit on this map.
Oh, absolutely. It's
She's very, very strong. But, having the Zofia is very good as well. And in this case, without having that high-impact operator that is high disruption, you're not going to play the same way. So Penta will play a lot slower game plan usually. This is what it means. Again, Ravon is bringing the Twitch not only for the F2, but also, of course, for the anti-utility possibility. Interestingly enough, no IQ to deal with now, both the Valkyrie and the Echo.
Yeah, something I was talking about before, and that's definitely the case where they're also bringing it with the mute. So the combination that I was talking about of deny some droning, as well as get your own intelligence, coming out more so from Vitality. So we'll see if that works out for Penta, especially since, again, as you mentioned, no IQ to counter it. So overall, in theory, as far as intel gathering goes, big advantage over to Vitality here. We'll see whether they can capitalize on it. There is at least the Jackal, though, to do some tracking that might slow down one of these roamers like Zephyr on that Jackal, or I mean not Jackal, but the Jaeger, for example. So we'll see if Serbos can catch his footprints. But he's got to be careful. Obviously, you can't just go and face checking everything first, or you're going to end up pretty dead. But at least with the extended range, there are some safer positions you can catch footprints from, and that gives a little more flexibility in how you play it. However, there's not necessarily a lot of easy skylights you can necessarily do it from, or a lot of other open places to do it, depending on how you get map control. But Panic's getting some decent map control down below. You see the drone just walking around in front of him, but he's going to potentially have to contest with Zephyr here soon, depending on how he rotates.
Yeah, Zephyr just coming in from the security area, and Panic's coming in from the opposite side. Now, the Jaeger's just going to sit in the back and not move, as if he gets droned out, then it's going to be fairly simple for Penta to deal with him, but you know, when I say that, it means that at least they'll know where he is, isolating him. But killing him within a location like this is fairly complicated. There we go. You'll see the drone of enemy coming in, giving the information, but Panix is not ready for the rotation of the Jaeger, who's already in the lobby, and no, he'll go down. Zephyr taking a lot of damage in the meantime.
That's the only problem with following the drone is they kind of know what's going to be behind that drone.
Yeah, and they were expecting at least one player, at least the Jaeger was.
I'd say the mistake there was not flashing at first.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the element of surprise was definitely lost anyways. And there you go, they'll spot him behind the desk. The Habana will try to fight, and enemy has no idea that the Jaeger has moved. There you go. He'll find it, but at what cost? Quite a bit of damage. Having lost the Ash to the Jaeger is kind of nullifies itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are, I would say, two kind of counter to each other. And then you have the roam clear, and the 3 speeds that are mostly about their guns at that point. Absolutely.
Okay, Hungry just peeking in on the Zofia. Raven from the opposite side, of course, should be seeing the Smoke of Bride playing right behind that reinforced wall. In the meantime, it's enemy here on the Habana, going all the way up top to the roof, and from there might try to open up a wall for them to use. Unfortunately, this should get shut down by Uphook's mute jammers. I'm not sure if anything was used to take it out from below.
Yeah, unfortunately, no footprints have even been picked
Oh,
up.
there you go.
There we go.
You don't even need the signal disruptor.
Yeah, doing a nice job there. But this is where push is going to have to start to come down with 25 seconds left.
Gas canister will get thrown in with 20 seconds now on the clock. Time keeps ticking. Enemy gets one on to Uphooks. He'll take down the mute, and there you go. The hip fire from Ride in tandem with the smoke will actually win it out. C4 being thrown out here, but will not connect here. The MPX, but it's Spark to find the kill. How is he still alive? It's a 2v2. 2v3 basically is. There you go. They'll find the kill, but they need a diffuser. Is it in hand? They'll try to go for the plant. Ride will run out and will deny it. The Twitch is on the floor, and that's all Vitality needed. They take round number 8 and put themselves on map and match point.
We'll see if they can close it out before Penta can catch up, though, as we could definitely head towards a potential tie. I mean, it's definitely a couple rounds to go for that to happen from Penta, but it's still a possibility here.
What a turn of events.
It has been an interesting match, to say the least.
Yeah, Vitality lose to Supremacy, who have not had the best season, to say the least. They lose 6-4 against them. And the week after, they're looking to beat Penta, which have been, you know, a fairly decently performing team within the region.
Yeah. We'll see if they can pull it off. They are going to try Penthouse again, but with a different lineup this time. We'll see if they stick with the Alibite. Nope, and of course they're going to switch that out. Still going to bring that Echo. They are going to have this Doc here, so we'll see if things go a little bit differently. Hungry looking like he might not 6th pick as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're expecting the Penthouse.
Yeah.
You can play Ying, and Hungry's had a lot of experience with this push. So
Yeah.
this signifies the olden days of, hey, we're going to take VIP and Hall of Fame and then just try to push it.
Mock it style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll see if they can pull it off the same, maybe even better. They've got some good utility for that as well, because they've got the Cap Tau to be able to help with that, because when you go to blind people, you may not blind everyone, but the ability to add the smokes and the ability to potentially cut off a rotation through that door with the firebolts means you're in a much, much better place. If they can't somehow deny you from behind, if they can't get a flank on you, there's really not much you could do to stop that plant outside of hoping you can catch it during mid-plant with a C4 or something like that. Or maybe if the Yokai is in just the right spot, might be able to deny it. But either way, good attacker lineup for this. We'll see how they actually execute on that and whether or not Vitality can play against that.
Attackers have located a bomb. Attackers
We'll
recovered the
see with only the bandit in play here. This is very easy if you have a Zofia, but because Panix is running the Ash as well, it should be fairly simple to take down those batteries from below, which means you should be seeing someone coming in from the bottom floor. And usually it's 2 players that'll clean it up from there, and one of them, as they guard the flank, the other one is taking control of the floorboards and destroying those bandit batteries. And most likely it'll be the Ash if Penta are even looking for that sort of strategy, because we saw before their push from the backside, trying come into the theater, was not successful at all.
No, it was definitely the case
Attackers
where
have
those
located a bomb.
batteries doing quite well. And I mean, it is surprising given that they have the shock drone, but at the same time, that could be a hard position to sneak into. It does help if you open up a bit of the floor first, but in this case, they aren't bringing anyone with a shotgun unless Hungry is. So it will be a little bit harder to open that up, but you still have Ash to be able to do so. Still has 1 breaching round left. See how they actually go for this push here. Is at least Hungry is in his position to start out with, but they need to get drones in position, catch where everyone's at first. Capta might be the one that has to kind of pressure this Doc here out of his position as well. Although I gotta imagine he might get blinded by the Candelas.
At least the Habana here is going to be able to X-Kairos to the side of the wall into the bedroom. And Zephyr will get shot down. Enemy finding the angle, taking no damage whatsoever. Spark is downstairs though, so they have not contested him just yet. Panic's taking a lot of damage as he enters into the site, still playing from the opposite side of the big window. They will get spotted as still in the back of the smoke. No gas canisters left. Sparks is going to try to stop things here. Is not sure if he has any C4s to play with. I'm not sure if they were bringing the bandit with. No, they did, and they do not have another nitro cell, unfortunately, which means their options are fairly slim here, Vitality. They're going to have to rely on the Echo quite a bit, and there you go. The Ying will chuck Candelas in, as this should be time to go for a plant. Sparks trying to lay fire down from below, but Espride is on the floor and burned by the Capitao crossbow bolt here from Sir Boss. Revan will find yet another one as the enemy will go for the plant. Not on the bed, mind you, just on top. The Candela will get thrown in as Revan will get one more, and Rafal all alive. Not for long. Hispanics to find the angle and take him down on the Ash. Little health left, but that's all you need. And Penta, 1 round away from tying Vitality.
You know when Penta have not been losing their attacks? When they bring the Ying.
When they're bringing the Ying.
I'd say that's been a consistent factor so far here. I mean, that's only 50% of the time, but it's certainly working out fairly well. I mean, we'll see if Hungry sticks to it again, but either way, I can't imagine they're going to go for the same attack here on Kitchen this time.
It works 50% of the time, all the time.
That's right. Certainly for Hungry. So that has definitely been a big factor. And also, it was just some good coordination on that attack. So you saw, for example, the Bandit use the C4. Might have been trying to preemptively catch them rotating to that position through the hole because they hear the Candelas go out, or just to make it harder for them to plant on that spot. But as soon as the kill went out onto that Bandit, as soon as Spark died, hey, guess what, guys? You can plant on that spot now because there's no one below. Just good coordination and getting that plant down. And Panic's getting across the room. Also very well played, so...
One thing I have to mention, which is obviously something that will boggle a lot of people's minds in EU, is that last time Penta and Vitality as pure organizations played against one another, Vitality still had Bibu, and Penta was the old roster that is now G2. Now, they played together on Oregon, and that ended up in a tie, 5-5 between both teams on week 6. However, here we're on Coastline in the second half with Penta now having the old Market lineup, Vitality not having Bibu on the squad. It's now up hooks, and they are close to tying again.
Shaking things up here.
And Penta was the only team to beat the G2. Who's who? Who knows?
10 seconds.
We're just learning so much today.
This is the thing. EU is such a mind-boggling thing because of those the organization changes after the 6 Major and DreamHack Montreal. It kind of can confuse people, and I completely understand them. Just mentioning things to confuse them.
Just to add to that even more, Vitality and Supremacy switched orgs at one point as well. Now they're both still in relegation spots, so you might even lose both of them.
And here's the thing, Penta, most of this lineup used to play under Vitality back in the day before they were Market. So hey,
Mind
fun.
blown. Yeah. So good luck with keeping track of that. It's like some kind of crazy genealogy tree at this point. But either way, Hungry is still going to be playing with those Candles, but a different angle approach here coming in. And it's interesting to see why he'd be upstairs clearing here, because that's risking your life for an operator that could be pretty valuable later on. Same with if Capita was doing this as well.
Well, back in ye oldie times, when you used to play Ying on this sort of attack, you'd play her from the opposite end and try to push in, but that Spark to find the angle. Sir Boss is down and damage done to Panics, as they were not expecting the VIP lounge play from the Legion. Usually something you would have droned out, but I guess he's still here. Revan, though, will refrag and take down Zephyr. They lose the Capitao here, the attack. It's a pretty darn big loss, but you already see, I believe Revan is keen. Yeah, there you go. He's keen on moving in and try to clean up Spark, but Spark might peek against him. He gets the spot, and unfortunately, the Legion will lose out. You might have a cool haircut, my friend, but that is not enough to save the day.
He's still a very important person to me.
Cool cucumber. Cool as a cucumber.
For the cool vibe stairs.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, they're going to do some droning now because they have time left. It's minute 24 to go, although, unfortunately, the Jammer's doing a little bit of work in jamming those, but still man advantage, as well as, I mean, they've lost a little bit of health, but not really too much. So they're in a good position, and there is a C4 lost as well from a Prox, making him a little bit more useless, as that MP5 is not the greatest gun in the game as well. So it is down to coordination for him to be effective, or even just being a pain on roam to try and get a flank. But looking good here for Penta, assuming that the Yokai doesn't become a big problem, or the smokes from Brede.
Well, in the meantime, I'll be jamming out to the bullets of Panics as they hit the side of the railing there. Just unable to connect on the smoke there of Brede. And do they spot the Yokai that is literally right there? No, it's hidden, by the way. Rafal is in the kitchen. He's got ADSs and barbed wire to help him out. And of course, Uphawk's holding the cross angle from the blue bar. 30 seconds on the clock and perfect timing to, you know what, start using those toxic babes, as Mr. Parker Mackay Parpar would like to say.
Good old Parpar.
Good old Parpar. Well, Revan holding the opposite angle here from the bar as Brede locks in last gas canister in hand with a shotgun as well. He fires in, but he can't get the shot. Hungry and Revan will get one, and then Revan to clean it up. Penta tied at 5-5, and ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of game one. It ends up in a tie, as we just, said. Penta in this season, technically Penta, now G2, they tied to Vitality. It was on order.
Now you're just confusing people.
Now I'm just confusing people on purpose. The Penta lineup, most of them, 3 of them, used to play on Vitality